Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy the D here, aka he who is driven by dragoonity, aka Young Synchro Storm in the building, aka the real Six Signer. Coming at you today with a bit of a different video. I know we've talked about a couple different animes on the channel, but this one it's a little closer to the heart and a little more personal. So if you would indulge me, I'd greatly appreciate it. And as always, like, comment, subscribe if you like what you heard. And definitely hit that bell so you'll be notified when I post videos. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Because it's a Yu-Gi-Oh video, and I fucking love Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm in a Yu-Gi-Oh renaissance right now, so yet again, bear with me. So, I'm a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh, like a big fan of Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, I remember the day it premiered back on Kids WB, but me being an old head aside, my love of the franchise has surprisingly grown over the years. I know some of you may have left after the original anime, but I've stuck around through its numerous sequels, and for the most part, I've been happy with the general direction of the series. That's right, I don't hate the new iterations simply because they aren't the original series. From the stories, characters, and general world building, I found nearly all of them to my liking. But I have noticed that there are certain specific areas that I think could have been done better. Now, to be clear, these areas aren't necessarily flaws, but they are, in my humble opinion, missed opportunities. This video, or videos, if I find any more that I think deserve discussion, are meant to serve as a precursor to a series where I want to try my hand at actually rewriting certain events and narrate how said changes would have influenced and altered the story as a whole. But that's for another day. This list is in no particular order, but I do want to start with the original Yu-Gi-Oh, you know, grab the old crowd. So let's get to it. All right. First up, Yugimoto. Now I know what you're thinking, but D, he was the main character of Yu-Gi-Oh. He was in just about every episode, and he even beat a Timothy. How could he be a missed opportunity? Well, I'm actually glad you asked, because if you hadn't asked, now I wouldn't be able to posit an answer. Because yeah, Yugi was involved in the original anime. True, that is a valid point. That is true enough. But a Tim always, well, almost always, took center stage 90+% of the duels in the series. Like, it was him. Versus Pegasus, it was him. Versus Kaiba in the beginning, it was him. Rare Hunters versus Merrick, it was him. So really you could say Yugi was a main supporting character at that point. But I digress. During the main Yu-Gi-Oh anime, which is what most of us know as, you know, our quote-unquote Yu-Gi-Oh canon, it was only during the last arc when he took on Bakura and a Tim that we actually got to see him use his own skills. Now, the reason I would list Yugi as a missed opportunity actually stems from the manga. Yeah, yet again, we know I say manga, not manga, so let's just keep going. In the manga, after Battle City, there was an arc where Yugi was targeted by a group of duelists who were under the assumption that Yugi murdered Pegasus in Duelist Kingdom. Yeah, in the manga's canon, Pegasus wasn't escorted, you know, he wasn't, I can't remember the name of the guy, the dude with the mustache and the greenish hair, didn't like put him over his shoulder like, oh, he's hurt. No, he died, and it was quite gruesome. So yet again, this is it's slick a shill for the manga, even though I'm not being paid. But look, if you enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh and you can afford the Funimation app, I would highly suggest going to read Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, it has been one of the most enjoyable experiences reading Yu-Gi-Oh. Anyway, so in the arc, just to give a quick pseudo summary, not going over all of the events, Taya was kidnapped and Yugi and the gang had to rescue her. You know, same old, same old. But this time was a little different. Due to his affections for her, Yugi took it upon himself to do one of the stronger opponents. Now, remember, I said Yugi took it upon himself, not Yugi helped the Tim. No. Yugi specifically in this scene made sure, because I think he was already transformed into Yami, a Tim, and he actually turned into his normal self and it was like, no, I'm gonna duel him. And I think you could say power scaling wise, this person was the third most powerful duelist out of this organization. So it wasn't like Yugi took like one of the riffraff characters. He took a top tier threat and won. Like, I remember reading this scene for the first time and said, oh shit, look, Yugi's about that shit. I think it was surprising to me because in the anime, Yugi was painted as a timid person, which he was, but this showed that Atem's influence took hold much sooner than in the anime. Like, come on, think about it. He was willing not only to duel for himself, but he was dueling a much more powerful opponent at that. This man Yugi jumped to the deep end of the pool and became Michael Phelps. Like, if you haven't read the Yu-Gi-Oh manga, I would definitely say do yourself the favor and do. It's really good. Like, it deviates from a lot of the plot points of the well, not a lot of the plot points, but it deviates from, well, actually yes, in the GX on iterations, it deviates heavily from the anime that we got, but yet again, still good shit. And of course, it's fillerless, which is always a plus in my book. Like, and this specific arc takes place in the Yu-Gi-Oh! R manga. Also, his not being utilized more in the series could have lent to his character development being a bit more believable. Okay, because yet again, think about it. In the series, a big thing is duelist spirit, honor, and, you know, integrity and the strength of a duelist being showcased through their deck. And along with the person's deck reflecting not only their strength but their personality. It would have been cool to see Yugi's deck go through multiple phases and to see him grow alongside Atem, but separately in his own way. Because during the final duel, it's hinted that Yugi has been growing during his time with Atem, but I think that having him dueling in his own body, using his own deck, would have gone a lot further in selling his development. Now, one thing that, yet again, because I do want to eventually get to the point where I'm doing rewrites and reimaginings of the series, one thing could have been like for us to actually see Yugi's timidity. I think that's how you say it. Showing his timid nature. Like early in the series, an early version of his deck loses because of him being timid. Pretty much think of Cyrus's backstory in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX involving Power Bond. His spirit being shattered and him leaning on Atem so much because he had a chance to win a duel, but because he didn't believe enough of it in himself, he wasn't able to take the risk. Which, believe me, I've been doing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, and boy howdy, sometimes risking that biscuit's good and sometimes bad, but that's another story for another day. Also, I love his deck. The toy/level themes present are just cool. His deck consists of the Magnet Warriors, Gadgets, and the level monsters, which the level monsters especially are a personal favorite of mine. Seeing them more would have been great. Finally, to cap off this section, I want to briefly touch on Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie, The Dark Side of Dimensions. Specifically, the ending. Of course, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Dark Side of Dimensions, please go watch it. It's a great movie and it is not a waste of time. It is peak Yu-Gi-Oh! But I digress. What I want to specifically address is pretty much how the movie sidelines Yugi in the end in favor of Atem. Now, the entire movie, Yugi is still coming to grips with being separated from Atem and he is looking to be past it, even telling Kaiba to let him go. But in the end, Yugi is unable to win and needs to be saved by Atem, which is, as cool as it is, kind of bullshit. I think that Yugi should have been able to beat Diva, and then in a fit of rage, Diva cheats, which prompts Atem's return. This works better in my opinion because at that point, Yugi would have proved himself to truly not need Atem to bail him out of a match, but rather he needed him because he was cheated. This could also work because with Seto being the modern version of the pre-Seto, his Yugi's victory over Diva would prove that Kaiba no longer needed to chase Atem when his true rival, his own modern day Pharaoh, was right in front of him the entire time. Like I said, this is in no way to shit on Yugi as a character. I still love Yugi. He's the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonist, after all, name kind of in the title, but I do think that implementing some changes, having him do more, was definitely a drop ball. But that's the thing about them balls, they drop. All the fellas know what I'm talking about. Now, the next entry in this list is going to be Bastion Masawa. Now, for reference, GX is a series that, upon my initial viewing experience, I did not enjoy. At the time, I was more used to the Yu-Gi-Oh status quo of monsters being dragons, wizards, swordsmen, assorted machines, and demons sprinkled in. So the idea of an archetype based on superheroes didn't sit right with me, but I eventually got over it and found a solid series. One thing I never really completely clicked with was Jada. He's just not my cup of tea when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh protagonists. But you wanna know who did click? Bastion. In season 1 of GX, Bastion was that dude. Multiple decks with cohesive strategies, the ability to legitimately challenge the main character, and not being a wannabe Kyra ripoff? My god. Yeah, fuck you, Chaz. Damn, that nigga said that shit with his whole chest. But yeah, season 1 Bastion was a fucking delight. Minus the whole I'm head over heels in love with a Shadow Rider after 10 seconds thing, but hey, get it how you live, pimp. But after that, man, Bastion was a waste of a good character. Especially in season 2 with the Society of Light. The biggest reason I think that his character post season 1 is such a waste of opportunity is that there really was no reason to take him and replace him with Hasselberry. Look, I have no problem with Hasselberry, but him needing to essentially replace Bastion so that Cyrus would have someone to take shift riding Jaden's nutsack is a mistake to me. We're just not gonna. That's a point that I'm just not willing to tolerate. Like, let's be clear, at some point in the Yu-Gi-Oh animes, in their numerous iterations, the side characters will start to fawn over the protagonist, putting them on a pedestal. Even season 1 Bastion, aka Best Bastion, was still part of the Jaden fan club. It's just what happens, it is what it is. But at least he would have kept his own autonomy, especially seasons 3 and 4. In those seasons, the man was pretty much a non-factor, and I think for a character with such potential, that was a drop ball, especially when you know that in the manga, he stayed consistently relevant. Yeah, like, I'm just... Like, this section is kind of short, but because it essentially just needs to be. It's really cut and dry. Like, I didn't like what they did to Bastion. They just made him irrelevant, and then we had Hasselberry, which, yet again, Hasselberry's cool. I don't even mind him. But I think that there are a lot of things that Bastion actually could have brought to the table that were overlooked in favor of more spotlight to Jaden and other side characters, which, whatever. But, on to the next one. The next entry on our list of missed opportunities takes us to the 5Ds era. So in Yu-Gi-Oh, there have been no shortage of dueling women. Mai Valentine, Ishizu Ishtar, Alexis Rhodes, and the subject of this section, Aki Izuyoi, or Akiza Azinski if you watch the dub. Now, don't get it twisted. Aki was a fucking beast in several aspects. Backstory, character design, dueling skills, etc., etc. The list goes on. But there is one glaring flaw in her portrayal in 5Ds. Her involvement in the greater plot. What I specifically mean is how in the last arc she was sidelined for Crow. Now, let me be clear, just because I wanted her to do more doesn't necessarily mean it was a missed opportunity. Because remember, everybody is not me. I am not the target demographic. I'm not the only person within the target group demographic for Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay, so I can't say just because I didn't like something, it's a missed opportunity. But I think it's more to do with how it was done. Okay, in the build up to the WRGP, gotta make sure, I'm gonna fuck that up a couple times, Aki was introduced to riding duels through the initial meeting of Sherry and Yusei. Through their duels, she became interested in riding duels. She even goes on to get her permit, which was cool. I think the issue comes in with when all the time spent on that development was eventually rendered pointless, such as during the WRGP. She was a fill-in for Crow, and even during her short tenure, she was never able to secure an actual victory. She was pretty much fodder for Team Unicorn. And then there was Team Catastrophe, who was pretty much a gimmick team with the whole shadow card shtick, which was random and had no greater importance. She never actually got to show off what she was truly capable of in a riding duel. I don't hate Crow. My biggest thing, he was wholly unnecessary to the plot in the main. He was wholly unnecessary to the plot as the main character, as a main character, when Aki was already there and could fill in the role of the top 3 alongside Jack and Yusei. Also, having a woman in that prominent of a role would have been awesome. It seems to me, and I could be wrong, that the writers for 5Ds went out of their way to sideline Aki when she was already there, present, and could have been incorporated more organically than introducing Crow and having him step in. And this also goes on to her final duel in the Arc-Riddle arc, which she also has to share with Crow. Now look, when it comes to women, I like them to be well written, which is why I hate fucking Sakura from Naruto. I'm not getting off that hill. Sakura sucks. During that meeting with Yusei and Sherry, you could always kind of tell there was a little bit of jealousy between that she held for Sherry. Reason being, because yeah, we know that she eventually developed feelings. I think that became clear in the Dark Signer arc, but also with the jealousy, because which is the whole reason why she wanted to learn riding duels, to understand the thing that meant so much to them. But to bring this whole point, full circle, pretty much, I think that her and Sherry's duel should have been a personal one-on-one, about how Akiza would have had to confront her feelings of jealousy. Because there always was a little hint of jealousy there. Like I said, from that first duel, you can kind of tell there was always that thing between them. But for her to realize that, okay, Sherry at that point didn't have the capacity for romance, especially least of all with Yusei. And also, hey, you also understand Yusei in a bunch of ways that Sherry just doesn't get. And it's okay, for you to have found her place among them, so to speak, just to, put out there like, hey, I'm my own person, I'm my own character, not my own character, but rather yet, hey, to understand her more. Because remember, Sherry was consumed with revenge, and for it to be less along the lines of, I need to, beat Sherry to prove my worth to Yusei, but rather, okay, her becoming, confident in her place in Yusei and the team, and also just being like, hey, I need to save her, because remember, as far as wanting revenge to a certain degree, Akiza learned, Aki, whatever, she knows a little bit about that, to how she was shunned, how she wanted to make humanity suffer, and how Sherry wanted to find her parents, was willing to do anything to destroy anybody to get what she wanted. It's like, I might not fully know what you're on, but I can kind of see it, that the path you're on, isn't a good one. And woman to woman, I think I, speaking as Aki, would be the one to actually help bring her out of that. Just think that would have been cool. All right, now for the next and final entry on this list, not for any particular character. It's not for any particular character, but rather the contents available on the show. Now, in 5Ds, yet again, my favorite iteration of Yu-Gi-Oh!, there were a few decks that never got to shine in the series itself. In particular, the archetypes that debuted in Hidden Arsenal, such as Dragoonity, Ice Barrier, Fabled, Jurak, Naturia, just to name a few. What's really messed up is how the WRGP poster there has a picture of Dragoonity Dark Spear, but the archetype is never seen in the show itself. I mean, it's not a knock against the series that they weren't included. Believe me, 5Ds is still top tier Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm standing on that. But I just think it would have been more enjoyable if some of the awesome new cards that players at the time were pulling were actually included in the show. I mean, let's be serious. We could do away with Team Tayo and Team Catastrophe and have some actually good duels with duelists using these cards instead of the shadow card BS, and hey, let us summon this card because our deck sucks. For instance, instead of going up against Team Catastrophe, maybe a deck, because see, the thing about the WRGP is, which would kind of make this kind of weird, is because it seems like everybody was using one deck. As I kind of seen, which is kind of dumb in and of itself, but go with me here. Let's say that there was a team that was using, maybe Naturia, hell, even Plague Spreader zombies, like the 5D zombies, like Plague Spreader, Doom Kaiser Dragon, and then, hold up, who else? Jurak, like that instead of Team Catastrophe, and then in the final match, in the quarterfinal match, which would have been Team Tayo, you could have a team using Dragoonity, Fabled, and even ice barriers. Because I know we got and even then, Ally of Justice in the Gen X monsters, they were featured very loosely. I think the ghosts used them, but I just think like we could have had some actual good duels instead of some of the throwaways, especially in the WRGP portion. Like I said, you had Dragoon and Darkspear right there, and that deck has yet to appear in the anime since then. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a Dragoonity head, but you know, I still think having, you know, not just Dragoonities, but other hidden archetypes, Worms, Vylons, and all of them. Ooh, well, I already said Fable, never mind. But yeah, having them in the picture would have made that. Ooh, Lightsworn too. I like that's another deck I like to play. I just think having them would have, you know, it would have been good. Yet again, not a knock against Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds for it, but man, I think they would have. I think they would have done great. Like, I think it would have been cool to see them. But without further ado, that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you so much for listening to this. Yet again, this is a different type, it's a slight departure from my normal content, but just thank you for being here. And also, I hope you enjoyed the Master Duel footage in the background. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Well, I think I'm gonna, you know, do more of these in the future. Like I said, some of these concepts, I have to think about some of the other Yu-Gi-Oh animes. And I think this could be a little ongoing series. But yeah, if you like what you heard, definitely remember to like, comment, tell me some things about the Yu-Gi-Oh anime that you think could have been better. I might include them in another video and credit you. But that's gonna be all for me today. This has been your boy, the D here, signing out. See ya.